I like this a lot. So they're saying 90% of security research is getting test environments set up properly. I spent a lot of time on this channel actually setting up lab after lab after lab. And I'm at a point where I would like to dig into more things other than spending more time setting up the lab. And I ran into this wonderful project. It's called Ludus. This runs on Proxmox and uses Ansible playbooks to deploy cyber ranges using config files like from template and Ansible. So today I'm going to show you how I'm going to deploy the Elastic Security lab. I will use this same lab to connect the Game of Active Directory SCCM, actually just regular Game of Active Directory, to it, so that we can have Game of Active Directory with Elastic Security all in one using automation. So I'm hoping this will be really, really great. So here's what I did. I first deployed Ludus. If you're interested in a video about the setup, please let me know. Otherwise, the installation is pretty simple. I'm using their bare metal option, which is recommended. So I have a Dell R730 running Ludus, just using the regular installation process. The steps that they show you here really work. So I already have a working Ludus system. As you can see, I'm signed in a Tmax session, ready to go. I've played with this for about 3 weeks now, so I'm ready to do fancy stuff like combine multiple labs together so that they can give me what I need. In this case, I would like the Game of Active Directory with Elastic or automated setup so that I can actually play with it. By the way, you can share this lab with your friends using WireGuard and other VPN options out there. And I plan on doing that once we secure this environment and make sure that it works. So if you're a paying member of the channel and you're interested in being one of the testers, let me know in the comments, because this lab is actually running in a data center somewhere that I'm actually running some equipment, because data centers are cheap nowadays. Ultimately, I would like to deploy this Game of Active Directory with Elastic, just like what I've done on this channel. So the first thing that I did was I came here and I configured both the Game of Active Directory lab. So I took this config YAML for Game of Active Directory, and then I combined it with the one for Elastic Security. So I will deploy both of them from one config file. And in the Ludus config here, we can say Ludus range get. This is the command that will give you the range. If you want to set up which lab to set up from a config file, it's the Ludus range config set config, this one. So I will need to run this command. Let's see if we have any range. This is a full installation of Ludus. So as you can see, this is the Elastic Security range that I had set last time. I'm actually going to say, hey, Ludus, I would like you to set a new range from that config file. So let's do that. So now we're actually setting it to the config. Actually, I would like to maybe change a couple of things. For RAM here, for the Elastic machine, let me give it 16 instead of 8. Because I do have some resources for CPUs, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, let's leave it at 4. But first, we have an Elastic machine that's going to be the main server running the Elastic server. Then we have a Kibana running on a different machine, the second machine. And then after that, we have a Windows 11 machine. This one I plan on using to test malware and anything that is, hot out there. Then I can deploy Windows Server DC. So that's the first domain controller. And this is just the same Game of Active Directory deployment. But I modified it and I added the role, the Bet Sector Ludus Elastic Agent, hoping that it will realize, hey, this is Windows machine. And also it should actually install the Elastic Agent and enroll them. I went through all these playbooks. From what I could see, just adding them here and making sure that the networks communicate works. So even though I'm putting this on VLAN 10 and the Elastic server on VLAN 20, VLAN 10 and 20 are going to be serviced by the same router for this setup that I have here. And the router will also be automatically deployed using Ludus. And now let's deploy the lab. And oh, by the way, before I deploy, let's do a list to make sure that there's nothing there. It should be clear. As you can see, I destroyed the old one. I had a lab for myself later. Okay, now let's rerun the deploy command. Then we'll follow the logs as well. It's encouraged to have a tmax session. As you can see, I'm in a game of Active Directory Linux tmax session. I'm SSH'd into this server. Obviously, this takes a long time. So in order for us to make sure that this succeeds, be in a tmax session, then run the Ludus range logs -f, I believe. And this should show us what's happening right now. It's running Ansible playbooks to deploy the machines from templates. So how does this work? First, you set a configuration file, and I'm following the logs right now because it's installing, as you can see. But if you do not have the first range set up, you probably want to go back to the templates, and each range will tell you like what templates it needs. I downloaded all these templates earlier. So now we just have to let the range run. What we can do is, I'll just pause the video. Once it's done, we should have the game of Active Directory without the Ansible playbooks running, but it should already be connected to Elastic Security. And then we can go in Elastic Security and see all virtual machines. That's the goal. If anything fails, I'll still show you. Okay, so after a while, you will notice that in your output, you might miss this if you walk away, but I was lucky I saw this. In your output, you have the Elastic enrollment token. You probably want to save this if you want to end up uninstalling and adding your agents later manually for whatever reason. Or you can, ask for this from the Fleet server, but this is your enrollment. And also the Elastic password, if you changed it in the playbook, it will be right here as well. So I think this information here will be worth saving somewhere safe. I'll probably obviously change this because this is not going to be exposed to the internet, so I can show you. But you see this. After a while, it will keep working on it. As you can see, actually, it looks like it's done. So the very first part here is done. It says, here are the machines, game of Active Directory, Elastic, and so forth. So they're all done. I can stop following the logs. I can come back to Proxmox. As you can see, in my Proxmox server that's running the Ludus on the IP address of the server on port 8006, I can sign in as root with the root password that I have. And once you sign in, you'll notice that your machines are here. They are not assigned to any user right now. They're just virtual machines under the Ludus server. So that's still good because then we can assign them to any of these users down here. But for now, I want to go to the Windows machine. And once I get into this Windows machine, open a browser. This is just Firefox. And I go to the IP address of the machine that is running the Elastic server. So this is the Elastic. I went to the summary to see what is the IP address. It's 10.321. Then go back to this machine, make it bigger. Sign in with Elastic. I think this is a password. All right. Once I type it in, log in. So we should be able, if everything went well, we should be able to go and see that we actually have all the agents enrolled in Fleet. So I'll go here, scroll all the way down to Fleet. All right, moment of truth. As you can see, all the servers, DC01, 2, server 1 and 2, are healthy. They're enrolled in Elastic. So we'll be using this to track down all of our attack traffic. But the game of Active Directory deployment is not done. We still need to go and finish running the Ansible playbooks. So in order for those playbooks to run, without cluttering this, we might want to maybe remove them from the policy. But let's go and check out what is the policy that is actually applied here in the Fleet. Is it detection, endpoint policy, agent policy? That is 7 agents. So let's go and check this one and see what they are actually doing. Okay, we have Elastic Defend. We like that. That's the policy we are looking for. And the question is it in detection or blocking mode? All right. So this is going to be a problem. Before I run my playbooks, I'll be installing a lot of software. I would hate for this to go out there and prevent my Game of Active Directory from installing. So instead of prevent, I'm going to change this to detect. Block list enabled. Let's also remove this, because what is this then? Enables or disables the block list associated with this policy. Block list is a collection of hashes. Okay, I don't want to do that because I'm actually going to be installing some tools here. So for the protection level, it's just in detect. Malware protection is enabled. Yeah, let me disable these for now, because I really don't want any of them to do some funny business while I'm trying to install things. Okay, I disabled a few of them, and I'll save my integration. This section will update 7 agents. Fleet has detected that you selected the policy that is some agents. Are you sure you want to continue? Yes. Save and deploy the changes. All right, successfully updated that. Now let's go check the agents. They should be updating or updated. All right, so in order for us to deploy Game of Active Directory, we can just continue from where it was. So go back here. So we ran, just assume that we just did this part here. And we ran the range deploy and it succeeded. Now we need to go and update the server 02 machine. Just what they're doing. Let's make sure that that machine is updated. This is HMADM. So this has to match what you have in your Proxmox. So as you can see, the name is HMADM. It has to match that. Code server 02. Yeah, it exists. All right, we started the process. Let's follow the logs until it's done. All right, so it's going to update that specific machine because, in the scenario, it has to be the most updated, latest version of Windows. So that's what's happening here. And then after a little bit, it will be done. As you can see, Control C, we updated the server. We can come back here and check to make sure that we actually updated. And because it will be done. As you can see, here's the build number. We can go and verify that, but I'm not going to do that. But the server is up and running. We can also see that we are getting a bunch of alerts in our Elastic SIEM already. So if I go to the alerts section, the server that we just updated has like the 28% of the alerts that are out there, but nothing interesting really. It's just Windows event logs and stuff like that. So this needs to be tuned. But we're not done with the GOAD lab. We deployed, we updated Ansible. We ran the range set, range deploy. So far, we followed the logs and we made sure that it was success. So like this. Now it says install Ansible in this environment for the GOAD on your local machine. So we need to install Ansible core. So what I'm going to do is, I already cloned the repo and installed Ansible core and did this stuff here. It's part of the Game of Active Directory. I'm going to see if I have my environment. So if you want to just run those commands, I don't want to rerun them because I think I already have them. All right, so here's my Ansible. They're saying Ansible Galaxy install requirements.yaml. I guess it'll just tell me that the requirements are met. So we have Ansible core and all that other stuff. Run that. Make sure that we have all the requirements, nothing to do, already installed. Just make sure PyWinRM, it should also say that it's already satisfied. Just to be sure that we did everything. All right, so we have everything in this section done. Create the following inventory file and replace the range number with your range number with said command provided below. Inventory.yaml. Let's see what it says. I don't think it's in here, is it? Oh yeah, it is. So it's going to be the 3. So mine is 10.3. That's the range number. So it's going to be that. So every machine in my Game of Active Directory is going to be a 3. 10.3, 10 something. All right. And you can set your range number by just running this command here, the export and then the sed. So right now, if I echo my range number, it should be 3. I need to grab it from my game of Active Directory. Now it's 3. So my inventory file is good to go. I don't need to run this sed command again, but you must be connected to your local Ludus WireGuard VPN for the commands to work. I'm running it directly on the Ludus server, acting as a client. I have the client running here, so I don't need to worry about that. So I'm on Linux, build.yaml, edit the keyboard layout to preferred layout, or remove the whole line. I don't care about that. It can be whatever the layout that they have. I will use a different machine. Then export Ansible command. So let's export that first. And then lab is going to be equals to GOAD. All right. Now wait, warning lines are okay and the steps might take a long, so don't panic. This will take a few hours. You'll know when it's done when you see your lab is ready to go. Okay, so we're about to run the playbook. Make sure you're in a TMAX session like I am, and then we'll see it later. I'll probably go to bed and see it tomorrow if it keeps running. But here's the playbooks. They're just going to go and install things. But before we let this run, let's go and observe Elastic. Elastic must be seeing a ton of traffic right now. Now, this is not the best view. We'll use RDP later once we get our WireGuard working. But for now, so the alerts, we had 56 alerts. Now that we're running the playbooks, we'll probably trigger a bunch of other alerts, false positives, of course. And that's my slow down my Elastic here. All right, yeah, they're going up. So I had 56, now it's 62, mostly because we are running a bunch of PowerShell commands. And our rules, the default rules, see all those PowerShell commands is bad, like enumeration of local privilege user. That's just Ansible doing its work. So we'll probably load a bunch of alerts here, but otherwise, this is going to take a few hours, like the instructions said. So I'll pause the video again here, and once it's done, I'll show you, and then we'll be ready to attack the game of Active Directory with our endpoint detection and do purple teaming if you want to with a team. All right, so I let it run overnight, and this morning, as you can see, it's done. I don't know how long this one took. I should have said the time command, but as you can see here, it says everything completed. There is no changes or anything, no errors or anything. It says your lab is successfully completed. Have fun. So the thing is, let's go check in our Elastic to see that whether or not this is still running. As you can see here, coming back, you notice that the agents finally checked in, but I had to go to every machine and find the Elastic service and start it. And now it's set to automatic. So if these machines start again, this will start. So you might have to go and start the Elastic service on every game of Active Directory machine like I had to do. Now they're all set to automatically start. I don't know why they didn't start after the lab deployed, but now they are running and collecting data. And coming back here, you notice that they're all healthy. What this means is we're watching all of our machines using the Elasticsearch cluster. Now let's go back to our agent policy and enable on the Ludus server policy here. Let's enable defend all the way because we disabled it last time. And for that, come back here and say, hey, we do want malware protection enabled and prevent things from actually happening. This way, we actually work a little harder. All right, and ransomware protection as well. This is on the free trial for Linux. And then finally, I would like to change the theme for this. So go to edit profile at the top here and make me a dark theme. That way, when we come back, we can actually use Elastic. Let's go to alerts, security alerts. Oh, by the way, this also enables all the rules in Elastic. So we don't have to worry about going and doing it all by hand like I did in my previous videos. this automatically takes care of everything. And we generated 81 rules. This was during the software installation. So this means that we need to tune our Elastic SIEM here so that it actually does not generate these rules after all updates and things like that. So these are a bunch of false positives that somebody needs to go and find out which rules triggered and clean them up. Otherwise, as you can see, our Elastic agents are ready. We are ready to start the attack. I don't know, IPA. I'm connected to the cyber range using the WireGuard, Ludus WireGuard. So let me show you how you can do that. So if you go back to the documentation here, you can take a snapshot for the lab, which is a good idea, but you can also connect using WireGuard. So right down here, it says Ludus range status to see if the range is running. Then I'll show you the WireGuard. All right, so here's the full range. It's not in testing mode. It's a success. All the virtual machines that we deployed are in there. Okay, Ludus user WireGuard. This is the command that you need to run in order for you to access this machine. So you run Ludus user WireGuard. This will generate your WireGuard configuration. I have changed my keys, so I'm not going to show you that. But once you download this config for WireGuard, you can then import it in any WireGuard client. I'm not covering the WireGuard configuration today, but I imported my WireGuard into my attacker Kali machine. So this is actually my attacker Kali machine that I'm running things on here. And once you connect to the WireGuard, it will put you in this network. And then everybody that you want to access your lab, you can just come in the Ludus server and create a user for them and assign them a lab. So the lab can be shared. If you don't want to share the labs, you can deploy multiple copies of the same lab, so I can redeploy that lab again. And that depends on how many resources are on your machine. So here, let's check how much we are using right now. All right, so it's saying I'm using 37% of my memory. I have 126 gigs of RAM. So I can deploy maybe 3 of those cyber ranges on this one host and have maybe 6 people share this machine, or more people if you wanted to. But yeah, we can deploy multiple copies of that, and this will work. I have 3 Dell servers in this data center that are running. My goal was to put them in a cluster, so I'll be doing some investigation to see what happens if I cluster this Proxmox and still keep deploying using Ludus. That's the next phase. Otherwise, I'm also happy to deploy Ludus on each of those, and there'll be 3 different Ludus instances, so I can deploy maybe 7 of these Game of Active Directory instances and have 2 people on each, so maybe a total of 14 people can be accessing my Game of Active Directory that I'm hosting. So if you're interested in trying it out, let me know in the comments or send me a message and we can make it happen. As you can see, we are ready to do the attacks and things like that. So if you're interested in seeing me use this is going to be my lab for a while, and please follow this Game of Active Directory series. We'll keep doing it until we actually get a good grasp of this. So thank you very much for following along. As you can see, we can successfully deploy Game of Active Directory using automation. It does take some time, but you can just leave it running in a Tmax session and it works. Otherwise, thanks you very much. I know this was an unusual video, and I hope to see you next time.